All right, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today to support the Caltrain Modernization and Electrification Project. My name is Jeff G., and I have the honor of serving this year as the chair of the Caltrain Board of Directors. Every day, over 60,000 people commute on Caltrain. Many choose to leave their cars at home and travel to work, often starting near San Jose and ending here in San Francisco. Just imagine with me for a moment, 60,000 more cars every day on 101 and 280. It's easy to understand why Caltrain is so important to all of us here in the region. Caltrain moves people to work in every sector of our economy between San Jose and San Francisco and all of the employment centers in between. When you follow the Caltrain line, you will see a trail of innovation and technology which has emerged all along the tracks that start right here at this station. Yet this transit system in many ways is the opposite of innovation. The economy has helped to flourish. Caltrain is slow, it relies on old technology, and needs many critical upgrades. All of that, though, was about to change with the modernization and the electrification of the entire system. After 2 decades of planning, we were on the verge of starting construction on a modern, electrified Caltrain. A shovel-ready project that will create 10,000 jobs in California and throughout the country in places like Jacksonville, Florida, Littleton, Colorado, Salt Lake City, Utah, and Douglasville, Pennsylvania. A system capable of transporting up to 100,000 daily riders and reducing travel times from San Jose to San Francisco to just under 45 minutes. A system which would match the vision and pace of our 21st century economy, relieve traffic congestion, and transform the way people experience mass transit. But all of this is at risk. We must educate the new administration and congressional Republicans about the importance and readiness of this project. $647 million in federal funding already allocated to this project is now on hold and at risk of elimination. Caltrain Modernization and Electrification is a project that is in 100% compliance with the President's and administration's stated goals of investing in projects that will create jobs, modernize our aging infrastructure, and can start work within 90 days of receiving funds. Caltrain's electrification project meets the President's goals 100%. We are working aggressively with the Department of Transportation to ensure they understand the importance of our project and its potential to create thousands of jobs across this country. But the clock is ticking, and we need approval on the federal budget proposal expected in May. Caltrain is the only project in the country that is eligible for this kind of investment. The time is now to act. We wouldn't be here today without the support and leadership of our dedicated congressional delegation. I want to recognize Representatives Speier and Eshoo and their colleagues for their very strong and tireless support of our project. These elected leaders have worked tirelessly for many years in Washington to make this project a reality. We have faith that they will help us overcome this final hurdle by working together with the Department of Transportation to approve this funding. On behalf of our Caltrain Board of Directors, we support you 100% in finding a solution and electrifying Caltrain. Congresswoman Speier, I'd like to invite you to make a few comments.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, my colleague, Congresswoman Eshoo, Supervisor Aaron Peskin, and all of us who are gathered here. We're here for one simple reason. This Caltrain project is in jeopardy of not getting the funding it needs to move forward. The Capital Investment Grant Program is on the chopping block. It would stop at least 55 projects in 19 different states. You know, the president keeps saying, make America great again, but the president's proposal would really make America stop. And we're here today to say, put your words to reality. If in fact we're making America great again, we have got to create jobs. Now at the moment, this temporary stop is costing about 9,600 jobs. The American Public Transportation Association has said that for every $1 billion of investment in transit, there are 15,900 jobs that are created. So if you look at it from that perspective, this $2 billion project has the potential of creating 31,000 new jobs. Mr. President, you want more jobs? This is the way you are going to get them. For example, if there is a stop put on the BART extension to San Jose, potentially denying us a project worth nearly $5 billion, this would ripple through the economy and potentially deny 75,000 jobs. In Dallas, Texas, in the heart of Trump country, a red state, I might add, there is a planned light rail project at risk because Dallas could lose $650 million in transit infrastructure development and another 10,000 jobs. In Arizona, there are 3 different projects, one in Flagstaff, another in Phoenix, and another one in Tampa. Again, that would lose some 15,000 jobs directly and indirectly. We're going to make America great again, Mr. President. Make America with jobs. And these are jobs right here in this region and across the country, because we're making the cars in Utah. And while Utah isn't mentioned here, it's one of the indirect beneficiaries of this project as well. The Capital Investment Grant Program, as is proposed in the President's skinny budget, is about to be cut. If it is cut, 600,000 jobs across this country will be lost. Mr. President, we're saying to you, if you want to create jobs, then you retain this particular program. Now, there are many California Republican members in Congress who have taken a position against this project, not because they don't support the electrification of Caltrain, but they don't like where some of the money is coming from. Well, I guess our message to them is, you cannot sabotage this program because you don't like where some of the money is coming from. That's double talk, not straight talk. And so we will say to those who like the Electrification Project, but don't like that some of the money is coming from the high-speed rail fund, that you can't have it both ways. If you want to come in to our region and do campaign financing, as you're apt to do over and over again, then you've got to be willing to say that you support this region, this economic engine that is so strong in this country, and you've got to support us being able to electrify Caltrain. Electrification will drop the CO2 in this region as it relates to Caltrain by 97%. It's creating 9,600 jobs. It is going to take all kinds of vehicles off of our highways and give us the opportunity to continue to have an economy that is indeed robust. So this is totally and completely up to the President and the Secretary of Transportation at this point to do one thing. And that one thing is for the Secretary of Transportation to sign off on this project, and it is a go. If they play politics with this project and politics with projects across this country, impacting 600,000 jobs, then Mr. President, you're not someone who could be trusted to be creating new jobs in this country. So with that, I have the great honor of introducing to you the great mayor of San Francisco, a great proponent of this project, Mayor Lee.
Thank you. Let me add my thanks to Congresswoman Speier and Congresswoman Eshoo, to our labor leaders, to our business leaders, to the chair of our County Transportation Commission, Aaron Peskin, our supervisor, to thank them for coming together on one of the most important transportation systems, not just for California, but for the entire country. Electrification of Caltrains is absolutely critical to maintain a strong Bay Area economy as well as a thriving San Francisco. You know what? This wasn't thought of in the last 100 days. This has been in the works for over 25 years. We anticipated that if we were growing our economy in the entire Bay Area from San Jose to San Francisco, we're going to have to modernize this Caltrain system. Now, that extra capacity is needed more than ever now. In fact, we're right here at 4th and King, where the majority of commuters begin their trips and end their trips. And because our entire Bay Area is growing, that extra number of people that need this train capacity cannot do it without the electrification. It's more than 65,000 passengers a day, taking riders up and down this peninsula, the job centers, to airports, to professional sports sites, and of course, to entertainment venues. Ridership has doubled in the last 10 years, and it's straining this current system. Bursting at the seams. If you ever have a chance to ride with the passengers, you'll know what that means, and I know Jeff and the entire board at Caltrains is making sure this gets done because they're bursting at the seams. So that additional growth, what will happen if we don't accommodate it? Well, guess what? It'll certainly be on our streets and our highways. And we don't have room for more cars. We have to make those additional passengers room by investing in this line rather than our freeways. And if we don't, our freeways will continue grinding to a halt, and so will our economy. By electrifying this line, we'll be able to add more trains, cut commute times, save fuel costs, improve the air quality, and reduce noise and ease traffic congestion. What more American can you do than to support this project? And as the Congresswoman said, Speier said, all these jobs are for America. This is an American system made for and by Americans. And so I urge the federal administration, I urge Congress, let's not deal with rhetoric. Let's actually make things work, put people to jobs right now. This is more than shovel ready. This has been shovel ready for quite some time, and we've proven that point through all of our letters, through all of the certifications, through all of the bureaucracy. And so let's make this project work right now, and let's get rid of the rhetoric. Let's really put more Americans to work. It's my pleasure to introduce to you someone that I find to be, well, I was going to call Congresswoman Anna Eshoo a driving force, but instead, I'll call her the electrifying force for transportation in the Bay Area. Congresswoman Eshoo.
It's one of the best introductions I've ever gotten. Thank you, first of all, to Congresswoman Jackie Speier for bringing us all together. Mayor Lee, thank you for your leadership. To everyone that's gathered here from the business community, from the labor community, to Councilman G, heading up the Caltrain board, thank you. There's a lot that's already been said. I don't want to repeat it. But these are all really worthy facts. In fact, this system, Caltrain, is the spine of our transportation system. So this is not something that is simply additive, something that travels another corridor that then links up to something else. This is the essential transportation system from San Francisco to San Jose through Silicon Valley, and it has a great deal to do with the economic backbone of the Bay Area. It is an old system. It is the second oldest rail system west of the Mississippi. It was founded when Abraham Lincoln was president, and it took another president from Illinois to say that this system is worthy of the federal funds that the taxpayers have contributed. And on that note, California is a donor state to the federal government. We pay more, send more to Washington than we get back. So these are very legitimately dollars that belong to Californians and to the people of our region. My constituents in Santa Clara County raised their own sales tax in order to contribute to the electrification of Caltrain. So from local government to the state government to the federal government, we have one of the most magnificent cases. You can check off every single box. So why has this happened? That's the $64,000 question. It's raw, bad politics. That's what's happened. Unfortunately, our Republican congressional delegation from California made a political request to the Secretary of Transportation. Don't fund this project because we don't like the pot of money that the funding is going to come out of. In 20 plus years in Congress, I've never had anyone come to me and say, you know what, I need this money, but I don't want it out of that pot. There isn't any such thing. As the governor said, Governor Jerry Brown said, this is blackmail. This is blackmail. This is blackmail. This is bad, bad politics. It's shameful that anything like this would happen. The American people deserve better. Certainly the people of our region deserve better. They deserve the best. The people of our country do. So our plea today is directly to the administration. I don't know whether our Republican colleagues from California are going to change their minds, but I would leave this with you. In 2014, California's voters approved Proposition 1. That was state bonds to be sold for water projects in California. I think that the California legislature, together with the commission that reviews and will recommend those projects, that be put on hold until this issue is cleared up. Because, excuse the expression, we need to get this back on track. Thank you, everyone. I have the pleasure of not introducing, but presenting to you an individual whose leadership every single day in our region, most specifically in Silicon Valley, makes such an enormous difference. From working on education to environmental issues to transportation to housing, Carl Gardino is the CEO of the Silicon Valley Leadership, is an essential leader in our area. And the leadership group is comprised of 400 companies. So when Carl speaks, he speaks with a great deal of heft. Carl Gardino.
Mr. President, when it comes to the electrification and modernization of Caltrain, Silicon Valley and the Bay Area have placed our wallets where our words are, and we expect our federal government to do the same. As we heard earlier, it's been well over 2 decades since we have collectively worked on the electrification and modernization of Caltrain. Where has our business community been? Just in Santa Clara County alone, our 1996 Measure A and B, led by the Silicon Valley Leadership Group, to tax ourselves and our fellow private sector citizens, generated $44 million towards this effort. Our 2000 measure, Measure B, provided another $131.5 million for modernizing Caltrain. Our most recent measure, November 8 of last year, 2016, $1.014 billion for the modernization improvements that are coupled with the electrification of Caltrain. And why are we making this investment? As you've heard from the other speakers, it is an economic and quality of life imperative. 53% of all patents filed in California are in the Caltrain corridor. This corridor has 1.6 million jobs. It represents 20 cents of every dollar of sales tax collected in the entire Golden State and 13% of our gross domestic product. We need to keep Caltrain electrification moving because it keeps California and America's economy moving. Mr. President, 14 Republican congressional Californians look past politics to the policies, programs, and projects that are going to put Americans back to work to help the rest of America get to work. Thank you. It is my pleasure to introduce the leader on so many efforts here in San Francisco on our Board of Supervisors, but also the SFMTA and SFCTA. Please join me in welcoming Supervisor Aaron Peskin.
Thank you, Carl, and thank you for your leadership, and thanks to our congressional delegation, Congresswoman Speier and Congresswoman Eschew. This is really a place of regional unification. This is an issue that has unified San Francisco. Turns out San Francisco, although many of us here in town do not recognize it, Mr. Mayor, is inextricably linked to several counties on the peninsula. And here in San Francisco, every member of the Board of Supervisors and the County Transportation Authority is unified. This is our #1 priority. And it is also inextricably linked, and this has not yet been said, to moving this train into the heart of our downtown extension, which is our #2 highest priority transportation project in San Francisco. The region is unified. Santa Clara County, San Mateo County. Our congressional delegation is unified. And as we heard on Friday, our Senate delegation is unified. And as Carl said, we have put our money where our mouth is. This is a $2 billion project. Only $647 million is coming from the United States of America. That seems like a fair deal for the region and a fair deal for the people of the United States in one of the most economically productive regions on the planet Earth. Let's get this done. And with that, for the folks who have built so much of the infrastructure and will work on this project when, because it is only a question of when, not of if, when we get these funds, it is my pleasure to introduce the head of the San Francisco Building Trades Council, Michael Terrier.
Thank you, Aaron. Generally, when they trot the building trades guy out, it is to talk about jobs, and there are certainly jobs to talk about here. First of all, in construction. Thousands of them for operating engineers and laborers and carpenters and ironworkers like myself and, of course, electricians. And this is the most shovel-ready of projects. The contracts are signed. The contractor is ready to go. All we need is a check from the feds, and the contractor gets a notice to proceed, and we're off and running. Our leaders of our national organizations in the building trades have sat down with Elaine Chao at the Department of Transportation and made the plea to her to let this project go forward, even if only as a gesture of goodwill, so far with no results. And it could be that the president has decided, that a gesture of goodwill is not appropriate in this moment, that California, he's going to have an adversarial relationship with the most populous state in the Union for the duration of his presidency, however long that may be. But I would urge him in that case to look past California. As some have noted, there are hundreds of jobs coming out of this in the manufacturing of train cars in Utah. But there are also jobs in pockets of dozens or scores scattered all across the United States. And Caltrain has a very good map on its website that you should look at that details where those jobs are going to be and the numbers. There are jobs, for example, in Pennsylvania, jobs in Ohio, jobs in Wisconsin, jobs in Florida, jobs in states that went fairly narrowly for the president in the last election, primarily, I think, because workers there believed he would have their backs, that he would provide them work, that he would take care of them. This project will absolutely do that. He should bear that in mind. Some of us have never thought that America stopped being great, but if the premise in making America great again is to give jobs to people in those parts of the country that have lost them, this is a kind of project that does that. And I will say to the President, Mr. President, you have nothing to fear here. This project is the kind of project the federal government has always supported. This is the kind of project that even if you have critics in the federal government who say you should have a more limited role, they may not be thrilled with your having this project go forward and you're paying for it, but they will at the same time understand, and they will not fight you over it. This is, and if Wisconsin, and if Ohio, and if Pennsylvania, and if Florida say, why California? You can say, it's not just California. It is you, and it is you, and it is you, and it is you. This is a project for the prosperity of the country. Mr. President, please sign the check.
I'll introduce myself before everyone goes.
Jim Wonderman, Bay Area Council, business and labor together on this, sorry.
So I'm Jim Wonderman, I'm the President and CEO of the Bay Area Council. So our group has been around for about 75 years, and our whole purpose of major employers and major businesses in the 9-county Bay Area is to try to bring the region together. The group created BART back in the 1950s and 1960s, and in more recent times we've really been focused on the electrification of Caltrain. Why is it so important? I think the speakers have said our region has about 3% of the national population. We bat about double our weight in terms of our GDP, and about half of the GDP from the Bay Area comes from the corridor that runs from San Jose to San Francisco and is served by Caltrain. And to the good, or not, depending upon your daily experience, we're choking on our own success. So we need this infrastructure to produce the continued economic benefits that accrue not only to our region and our state, but to the country. And so we implore our federal officials in both parties, especially the Republicans who are controlling the President of the United States and Secretary Chow, to reconsider, think about what you're really doing with this. There's an opportunity to make a statement here, but think about the statement that you want to make. I want to thank Representative Speier and Eshu for their leadership, Mayor Lee, Carl, Michael, Supervisor Peskin, Councilman G. You know, this shows the kind of teamwork that we have in the region. This is a get things done kind of place. That's why we've been successful. But we do need the federal government to be our partner. And if we're going to make America great again, we need to start right here in a place with a shovel-ready project that we've all worked on for a number of years that's ready to go. It needs a signature that should be a pro forma signature from the Secretary of Transportation of the United States. It's kind of amazing that we find ourselves in this position at this time, but here we are, so we implore you, get with the work of America, start right here. Thank you very much.
Again, I want to thank all of you for joining us this morning. I want to thank Councilmember Speier, Councilmember Eshu, our employers, our business leaders, our local officials, our labor leaders. This is truly a collaborative effort to make a difference for this region. We've been working, we've said 20 years, but I can go back to when my father was working on this 30 years ago. These things take a lot of time, and we are only one signature away from making this a reality. As our general manager and CEO said, Jim Hartnett of Caltrain, our shovels aren't already ready, they're already in the ground, We just need that one signature to get those shovels turning. So again, thank you very much for joining us today. We hope that you will support us in helping the President understand our need here. And several of us will be around afterwards for interviews or any questions that you may have. So again, thank you very much for joining us this morning on Monday. Have a good day.